Hello everyone, and today we're going to be working on our text adventure game, part 4. And part 4 is when we're going to be making our items. So remember, we had items, but they didn't do anything. Now our items are actually going to be doing things. They're going to be giving us attack and health bonuses. And the way we get these items, we classify them in certain ways. You know, like how games work, like maybe Clash Royale, for example, right? There's like legendary, epic, rare, and there's certain percentages of getting them. Like, for example, getting a legendary, the percentage chance is very low compared to getting a rare. And the way we're going to be doing that is we're going to be creating a folder called loot table. And within that folder, there's going to be different rarities. And within each of those text files, there's going to be all of our items. But before we do any of that, I want to touch on something very important, and that is code organization. So in a lot of I'm actually going to be grading you on code organization, right? So this is decently organized. In fact, like we have a lot of functions, right? Functions are always good. When you have a lot of functions, your code is usually organized. You should have a lot of doc strings. In fact, every function should have a doc string no matter what, right? You should also space out certain blocks of your code that like kind of indicate parts. Like for example, this indicates, if you remember, if we're dead, and this is the attack itself, right? And this is the monster code. This might be a bit too cluttered, maybe space them out a bit, but there's still something that I want to touch on, and that is organizing our functions, how they're placed in order, not within the functions, but all of our functions in general, right? So what should be the order? Okay, so what I like to do is I like to call the backstory in the start in any of these. This is usually not how professional programmers do it, but this is how I like to do it. I just like to make a lot of space here and then add like a few hashtags like this and call it control center. And then like, I think, let's just add 5 hashtags. 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. Okay, so down below is the control center. So we don't need this comment anymore. So this is basically where the game starts, right? The backstory, the start functions. Then we have, within that, we also have like a monster area and a diamond area, okay? So within the monster area, there's going to be monster fights. Even within the diamond area, there's going to be monster fights. But I like to put these things within each other. And then the dead function should also be here. So I'm going to just call this monster cove and fighting handler. Right, so anything related to do with fighting, dying, all that can be managed right here. Okay, then this is like the loot stuff, right? The random events. So we'll call this our random events. Okay, so right here, let's make some space, and let's say handling random events. Right. And then, even though we don't have that much here, we're gonna just call this diamond cove cave handling, right? So you're obviously like, if you're planning on progressing your story within the diamond cave, there are going to be more functions, right, that lead to more paths, and this will all be underneath the diamond cave handling, right? And let's say the diamond cave, you have like a lot of paths. Like in the diamond cave, you have 2 paths, and then those paths lead to 2 more paths, and it all leads up to like 16 functions. Well, then split those up as well. Say diamond cave section 1 handling, or diamond cave section 2 handling, or something like that, right? Make sure you name your areas. It's a very good way to organize your code like this, okay? So I think this is well organized. Let's get started by making our folder called loot tables. Okay, so if you remember, within the folder we have to click on it, and then we can create text files. Now, loot tables is a generic folder for all of our items. How we organize this? We are basically going to be creating different tiers. So for example, one called junk.txt. Right, so this is garbage. It could even be like bad. We'll call this rare.txt for like, good items, and then the legendary items that are like really rare to come across. Okay, so within our junk.txt, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be adding our traits. So for example, within the junk, we have a pencil. Its attack is going to be 1. Its or like what I mean by that, its attack buff is going to be 1. Its health buff is going to be 0. We can also add gold buffs, gold buffs, special attacks in the name of a string, right? Pencil smash, right? All of these things are up to your imagination on how you do that, right? You can use different logics, and I recommend you not just use HP and attack. Don't copy me. Find ways to make yourself stand out, more creative, please. I want you to have fun with this project, not just do it because it's like the main project. Try to find ways to make your game much more interesting by not just having attack or health. I'm being very generic here, but I want you to be very unique and specific. So, and then another, like for example, toxic waste. It gives us -2 attack and -5 HP. For the legendary, we can just add like King Azom's crown, 7 attack and 30 health buff. And then for the rare, we can just add a sword. Or here, I'll just fill these things in real quick. Okay, so I filled them all in with items. So you can see here, remember, name, attack buff, health buff, or if it's negative, a debuff. Okay, now let's get into the function that reads from these files. Okay, so I've modified the mystery box a tiny bit, and I'll point out some things. Okay, first, we've globaled our attack and health, which is probably not on your code. The reason we're doing that is because we're going to update them based on the item. Okay, then we're going to set mystery item not to the like a random name, but in fact the item itself. The item is going to be a list. The first element will be the name, the second element will be the attack buff, and the third element will be the health buff, right? And then instead of saying mystery item, we do mystery item 0 because we're changing we want the name of the item to be printed. We update our health and attack, we append it to our inventory list, and then we display our inventory. Okay, so this is like an abstracted code. We don't know what this does. All we know is that get item gets us a random item, right? And display inventory displays it. So let's look at what these functions actually do. And in fact, this is one thing that I'd like to do. I actually like to make a new section called handling items and display. And here, one thing that I do recommend you do is make some sort of function that whenever the user enters stats, right, it prints out their gold, health, and attack, no matter where they are, no matter what choice there is. And if you want to know how to do that, just make sure you ask us, okay? Here it is, the get item and display inventory functions. So let's look at the display inventory function first because that's really short. So we print out your inventory with a new line. And then for each element in the inventory list, we print out the name, attack, and HP, all with a new line. And then we format it with, their attributes, which are stored in a list. Now, how do we get those attributes? Let's take a look at the get item function. So we read from our loot table folder, choose one of the 3 tiers, and that order is wrong. First, we choose one of the 3 tiers, and then read from our loot table, and then return it after some formatting. Okay, so first, our luck, right? So this is kind of like just our randomness, kind of like like we're kind of like assigning percentages to the junk, legendary, and rare.txt. So we're going to choose a random number from 1 to 100, which is kind of like a percent. So like you have a 1% luck, garbage luck, or 100% luck, great luck, So we choose a random number from 1 to 100. If that luck is less than 40, so you have a 40% chance to get a junk item. If the luck is greater than 90, meaning you have a 10% chance to get a legendary item. And then between 40 and 90, do the math, we have a 50% chance of getting a rare item, which is it's not really rare, it's just a normal item, not bad, not good. Not bad, not insane. Let me say it that way. Okay. Then we open the file using the relative file path. So dot means our root directory. Then within the root directory, we go to loot tables, which is this. And then within that, we format it using that tier name, junk.txt, legendary.txt, rare.txt. Depending on what we choose, we're going to open that folder. Let's say we do junk.txt. So we're in this right now. Okay. So we've opened that up. Then what we're going to do is we're going to read all the lines. And this is going to basically, if you look up here, it's going to be like a list. And each list will have item 1, item 2, right? So what we're doing, so let me delete that. And what we're doing right here might be a bit confusing, but let's break it down. Within that file, we have a list of items, right? So we're going to choose a random item from 0 to that length of the item. Right now, this is actually an item list. So let me just do that. Item list to make it more clear. There. And this should also be item list. Okay. So within the item list, we're going to choose a random integer from 0 to the length of the item list. And what this basically is we're choosing a random index, right? From 0 to, right now, it's 1, right? 0 to 1. So either 0 or 1. And then we also do rstrip. Rstrip basically takes out the new line character, right? Which would be a bit annoying if we had that in there. And then now we have a complete item, which is our list, right? So right now it's not a list, it's a string. Right now it would look something like this. Pencil 1 0. So we split it, right? We split it by its comma right here. So as you can see, for E in item.split, so now it's split like this. Oh, sorry, 1 and then 0. We're going to try to append the integer version of that item. So like, first we try to convert this into an integer. It doesn't work. We would get a value error because you cannot convert a pencil to, an integer. In that case, we know that it's not an integer. We just append it normally because we know it's a string. But if it can be turned into an integer, we just append the integer. And the reason we do that is because, of course, we have to add like 1, or we have to add 1, or let's say if this is like 5, we have to add 5 to the health and 1 to the attack. And for that to happen, it has to be an integer. Okay? This stuff should be fairly obvious, but I'm just going through it just in case you need some review. And then we return the complete item. That was a handful. Let's actually run the code. Okay, for corpse. I want to go left. Okay, we want gems. I don't want that. I want to play the game again. Come on, give me a box. Mystery box. It gives you a stone bow. Your inventory. See, and now it prints out the inventory. Name, stone bow. Attack 10. HP -5. So let's test it. Let's fight one of the monsters. Let's see if our health is actually 95. Okay, so we go left. We are fighting a lava golem. Swordsmaster. You missed. The lava golem attacked, dealing 5 damage. You have 90 health left. If you think about it, we would have 95 health left, but since our stone bow is giving us a debuff of 5 health, we have 90 health left. This indicates that our mystery box is working. This is how you debug your code. Now I know this is a decently long video. The next video, which is actually making different monsters, will probably be even longer. But after that, it's all up to you to create the best text adventure game possible. I hope you've been enjoying this series. If you have any questions, please comment down below or message us on the Discord. See you guys later.